Thank you for browsing page 121. Today we're going to jump into yet another issue of The Dragon. Number 111, $3.50 gave us a murder mystery module, a new kind of magic item, and Dungeon Adventures. Dungeon Adventures were still pretty new then. Always loved this cover. Silver Dragon maybe versus Black Dragon. I thought this is a gorgeous cover. I always loved it. We go to the inside cover and we see that the quest continues for Talisman. And Talisman was brought to us by Games Workshop, distributed out of Columbia, Maryland. Rollmaster, the classic fantasy roleplay system from Iron Crown Enterprises. Iron Crown Enterprises, these guys were out of Virginia. Charlottesville, Virginia. Played a little Rollmaster. I liked it. I found it slow. Even compared to D&D, which in its early days was very slow until we got our feet under us. And then we have the table of contents, letters to the editor, Robin 1, Robin 2. Let's see, Kim Mohan is our editor. The World Gamers Guide for when you're somewhere else in the world 40 years ago, you'd be able to find gamers. Come play with us. From Chaosium Incorporated of Albany, California. Enter the world of Arthur, king of all Britain. How do you know he's a king? He hasn't got beep all over him. Then we have the forum, which are kind of enhanced letters to the editor. New worlds await you. The Science Fiction Book Club. Lots of memories of this Science Fiction Book Club. I started that, I think, in 75 and was in and out of it through the mid to late 80s. Because if you'd quit, then you could join up again a year later and you get 5 books for $1 and all kinds of good deals. Science Fiction Book Club. And Garden City, New York. I liked it. Got a lot of books. Still have several of these. Good stuff. For a spell. Magic Focusing. A new dimension of possessions. Magic Focusing item allows magic user to cast a spell you have not memorized by focusing the spell potential of any memorized spell of the same level into the focused item. Okay, so if I have a wand of Fireball Focusing, I can take another third level spell like Fly and convert it to a fireball. Interesting idea. I did a little bit with something like this. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a Half Shell. Turtle Power. Never really watched this on my own, but my nephews and one of my nieces were really into it, so I know a lot about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And these were from Palladium Books, Detroit, Michigan. Continuing out our spell focus item. Have you switched yet to the #1 roleplay system, RuneQuest? I don't remember playing RuneQuest. I played Dragon Quest. I don't think I ever played RuneQuest. From Avalon Hill Game Company out of Baltimore, Maryland. So had to get into role-playing in the 80s if you were a game company. Finishing out our article on spell items, spell focusing. We have an ad for Illuminati for adventure systems out of Houston, Texas. A fast, exciting play-by-mail game. And then with the Lexicon, Atlas, the Lost World of Atlantis from Bard Games, where fantasy becomes reality. Available at Walden Books, B. Dalton Books. I miss Walden Books and B. Dalton Books. Used to love going there. Welcome to Malachi. Visit a city where magic reigns supreme. Dragon Magazine is... Okay, so this is just a city, but the city itself has a lot of available magic to the people who run it and who live there. Interesting. I think I remember reading this one. Sky Realms of Jarun. LA in July, Milwaukee in August, and then back to Jarun. Leave your world behind. And these guys were Sky Realms out of Santa Cruz, California. Flashing Blades, complete role-playing game of swashbuckling adventure from Fantasy Games Unlimited, Roslyn, New York. Dungeon Adventures, what readers and writers need to know about it. Dragon 107, we announced that TSR Inc. would soon produce a new periodical filled with modules. Dungeon Magazine was good. I wish they had gone thematic with the adventures, and it just always felt very disjointed to me. A lot of these were adventures they just didn't publish elsewhere, so they stuck them in Dungeon Magazine. But if they'd gone themes like, okay, all undead or all Norse or something like that, every issue, it would have engaged me a lot more. But I bought many. I have many down in my storage area. And it's Point Blank, the Complete Strategist, on the East Coast of the United States. I think the New York one is still around. I think the rest might be gone. We have a tag for a summertime subscription for Dragon Magazine, and then detail where it counts. And it counts when you're building the finest fleet in the universe. The official Star Trek miniatures. I would have bought these like crazy, except it was a strange time in my life where I was working more than I was playing. It's always been true, but I couldn't devote much time or money to games. I was engaged at the time. We were planning our wedding. Just money focus was different. But this was from Facet Corporation out of Chicago, Illinois. No campaign ever fails. What to do if your game gets out of control. I don't know if I'll ever agree with no campaign ever fails. I've had campaigns with my current group where the idea I had fell flat on its face. They hated it. I put them in Ravenloft not terribly long ago, within the last year. They hated it. They wanted out so bad that I had a 4-game arc planned for it. I dumped it. We played one night. I was really disappointed. And what the blank is GURPS, Generic Universal Role-Playing System. Not the first RPG, just the best. GURPS did some outstanding Traveller stuff in the late 90s, early 2000s. And these guys were out of Austin, Texas, from Steve Jackson Games. Continuing on our article, for Broken Campaigns. And then we have Dungeon Adventures article finishing as the Broken Campaigns finish. Microscopic monsters. When they get bigger, they get a lot tougher. This was interesting. This would pop up every now and again, especially for Gamma World. You'd have different bugs that, or bacteria, whatever, that would be, or germs would grow into giant-sized monsters. Could be interesting. They're hard to fight if they're done well, though. So I didn't use a ton of these. But this is for AD&D. Yep. And then we have an ad for Dungeon Apparel, Fantasy Wear Order Form, from Fantasy Wear in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Official D&D wear. Finishing or continuing our article, there's a paramecium for you. New modules for Twilight 2000 from Game Designers Workshop, Bloomington, Illinois. Twilight 2000 was an interesting game. The bombs have dropped. You're struggling to survive. Paramilitary kind of game. It was interesting. I played it a few times. Continuing our article, not finishing yet. And then we have the Summer 1986 catalog for the Wizard's Nook. It's now available, featuring original fantasy sculpture, art prints, and posters out of Plantation, Florida. $2, you get your catalog. And finishing out our article on the tiny little creatures in our world. Then we go to the State of War, the year 2000. Civil War in the U.S. has happened again, from Game Systems Incorporated, Miami, Florida. And guidelines on how to contribute to Dragon Magazine. The Roll of Books, fiction with a flavor that gamers will savor. Hard to say. Magic Kingdom for sale, sold. Terry Brooks. Read a little Terry Brooks. I don't remember reading any of these, but I always read these articles just to see if I could find something. Found many books through this. We have an ad for Bushido Miniatures from Rel Partha Enterprises. I like any kind of Oriental Adventures type thing, or ninjas. I have lots of ninja figures that I bought over the years. Finishing out our article, the various books. Interstellar Pig. New releases, Survival Force on Cycles from Castle Creations, Columbus, Ohio. These are minis. Interesting. Finally, Japanese robot combat that's really Japanese robot combat from Mechton. Telsorian Games out of Aptos, California. Recon is back, and Palladium Books has it. Recon, the only role-playing game, Modern Warfare. And Palladium Books, Detroit, Michigan. Are you missing a Dragon magazine in your lair? Here's your chance to fill in missing back issues. I always appreciated that they did that. Death of an Archmage. Can the police solve the mystery in time? I've done a number of mysteries in my various AD&D games. I did a locked room murder mystery several years ago, and I told my players before we started that it did not involve any kind of dimension, transport, no teleportation, no anything, no kind of extraplanar movement. but it was a locked room and there was a solution. That was a lot of fun. And no, I'm not telling you the solution because I may do a video about that sometime. It was a fun one. So Death of the Archduke. I remember reading this one. As I said, I always liked any kind of murder mystery or anything in D&D. It's hard to pull off. It really is. Continuing on our article, it continues on page 57, our adventure. And then we have maps and tournament play characters for you. And then the mansion itself. Kelburn Civil Rights Code for the police conduct. Some interesting stuff. I could definitely see where this would be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll read this over. Maybe I'll adapt it. I haven't run a mystery for my players in 2 or 3 years. That finishes the article. And then we go to previews, new products for August of 86. Dragonlance 13. Dragons of Truth. Dragonlance Legends 1987 calendar. The Immortal Storm. D&D Immortal set. REF2 player character record sheets. Oh yes, I bought a ton of these. Toys R Us was closing them out for $2 each. I was in a job that had me driving around suburban Cook County, which, by the way, if you know Cook County at all, Chicago and then the surrounding collar communities are all part of Cook. I've lived in Cook my whole life. It is massive, and I was in a job that caused me to drive all over Cook County for years, and I would find out that Toys R Us was selling these at $2 each, and I just haunt the Toys R Us. I still use them. X11, Saga of the Shadow Lord, D&D Expert Adventure, Amazing Stories, Anthology 2, MA1, Children of the Atom, Marvel's Mutants, The Uncanny X-Men, who were really popular at the time, Sorcerer's Crown, AD&D Adventure Gamebook, number 9, and then ads for our new products in September. Gamma World game. Gamma World, this would have been Gamma World 3rd edition that came out in September of 86. Not an edition I was crazy about. GW6, Alpha Factor Gamma World Game Adventure. I did like that. That's a pretty good adventure. The set of adventures that came with this were good. I didn't care for the system. They were going over to they were trying to make their house system, the one they used for Marvel Superheroes. It was all D100 based, and it was a color chart and stuff. Never spoke to me. Battle Road, Car Wars Game Book number 1 by Steve Jackson. The Amazing Spider-Man for Marvel Superheroes games. Day of Al Akbar, AD&D Game Adventure. That's actually a pretty good adventure. GDQ 1 through 7, Queen of Spiders. Super Module. Yes, I like that one a lot. Dragonlance Legends number 3. I liked Time of the Test of the Twins. Those are my favorite of the Dragonlance. Captain America and Rocket's Red Glare for Marvel Superheroes, and Warlords and Oriole Adventures Game Book. And One-on-One Adventure. There you go. And we have profiles. We have a look at Jeff Grubb and Anne Gray McCready. These were folks that worked at TSR at the time. Get a little bit of idea of their published stuff. Pull the pin and throw. Grenades get more detail for top secret play. Always interesting. I've always found grenades to be very hard to play in any kind of tabletop role-playing game. Just find them a little tough to deal with, the blast radius and such. It's even tough in a game like Champions. Games on Call. The Buyer's Guide. Call or write now for free Buyer's Guide for summer of 86. And this was... They took MasterCard or Visa. Look at that. Delta Force. Best of the Force. Join Delta Force. Strike Back for America. And this is from Task Force Games, both out of Amarillo, Texas. And then we continue on our grenade article. Fire sales. Subscribe to Dragon while it's hot. TSR Incorporated, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Finishing out our grenade article. Some Refuse to Die in the Aftermath from Fantasy Games Unlimited out of Roslyn, New York. Label your letter. Put your address on there. When it comes to dungeon design, we have a lot to offer. White Dwarf Magazine, only $1.95. That same White Dwarf now I think it's about $15 a month. Interesting. I've read many things out of White Dwarf on their Traveler and D&D stuff. I think they even had some Champion stuff. Some pretty good stuff in there. Get from Games Workshop of the UK, distributed through Columbia, Maryland. And File Under B. So we got some fantasy pros here. Oh, looks like Conan the Librarian. Ha, I love that joke. I've been using that joke for decades. I get it. It's Barbarian, then Conan the Librarian. That's all. You would never, ever be late returning a book with Conan the Librarian. Clean up your act from D&D player character sheets. TSR, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I liked that they gave us formal character sheets throughout the early life of D&D. Aries, Science Fiction Gaming section. Aries, John Byrne artwork from X-Men. That's Dark Phoenix in action by Terry Austin and John Byrne. Phoenix, The Outer Limits, the Marvel Superheroes game. Phoenix is, if you don't know her, cosmically powered Jean Grey, who they turned into a whole Phoenix Force and all this other nonsense. But initially it was just her powers had reached their zenith and she really couldn't control them, and dealing with that, and they killed her off, and it was a great way, and then they brought her back, and it was lame. But here's more on the Phoenix. Maxima, back from the future in Villains and Vigilantes Gaming. Was done with V&V by now, is playing Champions. Daredevils and Lands of Adventure from Fantasy Games Unlimited out of Roslyn, New York. I apologize if you heard any strange noise in the background. That was my neighbor playing with his leaf blower. He has an extreme attachment to that thing. But anyway, Supergirl, the Made of Steel in the DC Heroes game. I never played DC Heroes. And charter subscription special for Dungeon Magazine. Just coming out in 86. Maybe I did go to Gen Con, because I bought issue 1 at Gen Con. Maybe I did go to Gen Con in 86. But finishing out our article on Supergirl, which is funny that they would do this in July of 86, because they killed off Supergirl in 1985 in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, and then we have an ad for the original Bruce Lee martial arts game, Night of the Ninja, limited collector's edition, and IIE Games Corporation out of British Columbia, Canada. The Marvel File, Longshot. Oh, we're hitting that era of X-Men I didn't care much for. Here's a nice look at Longshot for you. An ad for the Hero System, and it will knock your block off. Iron Crown Enterprises, Charlottesville, Virginia at the time, that they were a distributor at least. Champions, I like Champions a lot. Still love that game. Quantum, Power and Superpower in the Champions game. There you go. Okay, Quantum is... Okay, average power versus high power. So this is kind of a high power issue of Aries. High power champions can be a lot of fun. We've done some completely space games based on Legion of Superheroes, that kind of stuff. They can be a lot of fun. Continuing on our article there, we get an ad for Villains and Vigilantes, except no imitation, from Fantasy Games Unlimited in Roslyn, New York. Started out playing V&V, played it several times. Gamer's Guide, kind of a personal ad for all your gaming needs. And then right on, if you've got a question about an article, and then index to advertisers. Convention calendar, stuff you can go to 40 years ago this month. And then Snarf Quest by Larry Elmore. Kind of like Snarf Quest. Dragon Mirth. There we go. And then Wormy. I like Wormy. I don't remember when Wormy stopped. I know we don't have a ton more, but I liked Wormy. And then the new Armory paint set, Metallic Paint Set 2. And I don't remember these specifically, but let's see where they were available. Granite City, Illinois, never been there, and Mount Prospect Games Plus, have been there many, many times. Adventure Beckons, come to Middle Earth. The Middle Earth role-playing system, MERPS. It's a world apart from Iron Crown Enterprises, Charlottesville, Virginia. So there you have it for your $3.50. Got quite a bit in this issue. I love Dragon. I still miss it. It was a fun thing to look forward to every month. And there was almost always at least a couple things in there that I really enjoyed. But that's all I've got to say today about this issue of Dragon Magazine. Let me know what you think. Hang on, I got a bookmark of some kind here. Let's see what that is. Oh, Pat's Hobbies and Crafts. So it's my receipt from when I bought this issue. Wow. On July 8th, 1986. Holy cow, I can't believe I still have this receipt. That's cool. But that's all I've got to say today on this particular issue of the Dragon. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. I love making these Dragon magazine videos. And as I said, I apologize for some background noise. My neighbor has an unusual attachment to his leaf blower, and he can go on for quite a while with that sometimes. But that's all I've got to say today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please leave your comments below, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Tell your friends, keep growing the channel. Also, please take a look at the Patreon. See if you can help me out there so I can continue to expand some things I want to work on. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.